Laura, thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
You have such an incredible reputation. You and I haven't had a chance to spend much time together. We got to talk on the phone for a bit. I was at the beach. I call the beach my office because I figure if I'm going to fiddle around my phone and make calls and send text messages, I might as well look at the ocean while I'm doing it. And we had a really passionate and wonderful conversation together. And we were talking about your industry, intellectual property, law, all things legal, and where things are going. I was fascinated by the things that you shared as we kind of had that mastermind with all the speakers today. So since I don't know you well enough to prop you up as the ultimate hero of all time, would you please introduce yourself to our audience so they have a better context for who you are in your own words, if you don't mind?
Sure. My name is Laura Schlesinger. I am a founding partner of Venture Gained Legal. We work primarily with startups, and I've also worked with a lot of the larger tech companies in the Valley. I do mostly intellectual property, not patents, so trademarks, copyright, anything in that area, as well as advertising law, and we work with startups from the ground up in pretty much everything they could possibly need. And so I consider myself an entrepreneur in addition to being an attorney.
Yeah. Well, you have a phenomenal reputation. People were telling me about you, and then as I was talking with you about kind of our mutual friend groups, everybody's like, oh, she's the best. You're going to have her. Wow, you're so fortunate. So I'm grateful that you're here. I'm excited to hear what you have to say. And so I'm going to ask some questions. I'm going to listen. So let me start with, what are you concerned about when it comes to technology in all things law and legal? Like, what are you feeling is a real concern? Like, what do you think we should actually be attacking and taking care of right now?
Oh gosh, I mean, and that's such a huge question. There's so many different directions you can go with that. One of my concerns, I feel like I have this dystopic moment every time you see those posts on Facebook when they say, you know, Facebook has changed its terms of service. If you don't repost this, they're going to own all of your copyright and everything in your house and your firstborn child and all of this, and they refer to some non-existent statute. And everybody shares it, and they expect that somebody over at Facebook is actually culling through every single Facebook member's entire feed to see if they ever posted it. And the virality with which legal misinformation is shared is really appalling. I mean, and that goes for all types of information today, obviously. But I think that one of the things that I've found challenging is my clients, and just people I've spoken to in the community, they're not lawyers. They don't want to be lawyers. It's a very opaque profession, and when you don't know what you don't know, it can be really difficult to make good decisions in that. So when we have all this additional misinformation out there and bad advice, and there's so much content out there, it actually makes it harder for people to make good choices.
How are you attacking these problems? How are you mitigating the risk of what's going wrong and certainly what could go wrong? And how about your peers? Like, your network, what are you doing right to deal with the concern of where we're going?
Sure, and you know, we have a lot of concerns. I think our primary concern is delivering really good value legal services to the specific types of clients that we have. And so one example of something practical that we've done, we're always looking for ways that we can build in efficiency, and a lot of that you know, is using technology solutions, and some of it is not. But so, for example, my specialty is trademarks. Like, that's one of my specialties. My business partner, who is an amazing attorney, but her specialty is not trademarks. However, she does trademarks on occasion for clients where that's just, you know, they need 5 million things and a little trademark over here, and she'll do it. But I found out at some point that she's billing probably twice as much for trademarks as I am, not in the amount, but she takes much longer than me because she's not as experienced as I am. And I'm like, you make twice as much as me for trademarks because you're not as good at them? And I was just like, that's not right. And so, I mean, I think that for us, what we did, I was like, we're coming up with a flat fee trademark. So we're introducing flat fee trademarks. We've got a way you can pretty much order them online, that sort of thing, because I'm like, that's not fair to pass that on to our client.
And what's the cost for that?
So a flat fee trademark, there's the trademark USPTO fee, which is $225, and then our fee, I think, is $549. So it's $774 total, which I've heard large firms quoting thousands of dollars for one trademark. I still, to this day, cannot figure out what that goes towards.
If anybody here could get a trademark service for free, would you want it? Would you want to trademark something? Right? Does anybody want to trademark an idea, a business, anything like that? Well, we're going to give away a free trademark because you've been so kind as to offer that. And so we're going to give a free trademark away today. We have the raffle tickets, and we paid the USPTO fee, and you're providing the service. So thank you for doing that. I just want to stop and acknowledge, you're so kind. You came to give to us, and you keep wanting to give. So thank you for that.
No problem.
What are you most hopeful about when it comes to legal law IP protection as technology is changing faster than attorneys can keep up? What are you hoping that technology itself actually makes the difference? How does technology, if things go right, how does technology close the gap and actually empower attorneys to keep up with it as an actual thing? What can happen that's good?
There's a lot. One thing I want to talk about is that, law, and I think this is true for tech too, is law is not unto itself, right? Law is to support certain other goals in society. So it's to support justice, and it's to support advocacy, and it's to support, business and innovation. So you entrepreneurs out there, you're trying to build businesses and innovate and do amazing things, and we are resources to enable you to do that. So I kind of look at, law is not just, we wouldn't exist without everybody else, right? So one example of something that I've seen, this is not as much relevant to the entrepreneurs, but I had the opportunity to host a hackathon in conjunction with a large international ministry. It was their first hackathon. They didn't even know what it meant. I had to explain what a hackathon was. They thought it sounded very violent. But it was really cool because there was a bunch of techies in the area, and the kids loved it. And so we presented them with problems from some of the local nonprofit organizations that needed, they're always shy of resources, right? And they could use some maybe technologists to come in with fresh solutions. So the winner of the hackathon, the problem that they solved was there's an organization called Exodus Cry, and they fight human trafficking and that sort of thing. And so one of the things that they do is they'll try to save girls that have been put on the streets. Maybe they're kidnapped, maybe they made bad choices, but they're being prostituted. And one of the things that the team actually has to do is get into a boardroom all together, pull out their laptops, and go on Backpage and Craigslist and these icky sites and look through all the pictures to see. They're like, hey, the police told us this girl just went missing. So they think that she might be on the streets. We have to look through all these pictures to see if we find her. The winner of the hackathon created, and this was a few years ago, something that would crawl these sites, and using facial recognition technology could begin to say, this might be her. We think we might have found her. So there was less, pictures of these girls that the team members actually had to look through. And so supporting certainly social justice goals and the law enforcement and all of that was huge. So I think that there are a lot of, dreaming big in those technological solutions is really important. You can be solving real problems. Now, we know that facial recognition technology is used on all of our social media and all of that sort of stuff all day long in way less maybe noble applications. So it'd be great if we can put that in the hands of people that are doing really amazing things.
I think oftentimes people look at professional athletes and they're like, okay, well, I don't have that gift. At least if I do, I didn't cultivate it. I'm not going pro in any sport. I think people think of law in the same way. It's like, I didn't go and do the bar. I don't have a JD. Like, I didn't play that sport. I have no idea how to be involved. I don't know how to make a difference. I don't even know who to talk to. I don't know what solutions there are. So first of all of you here and streaming online, you can get a hold of Laura and her partner, Venture Gained Legal. There's one solution. But can you talk about a few other solutions that this room and this audience can actually access that will help this be demystified?
Demystified.
Whatever you want to share. Before we wrap up, I'm just hoping you could kind of share a thing or a couple things that we can have as kind of solutions for not making the future of law feel so distant from our grasp?
I mean, I think one thing, I don't encourage people to go out and try to learn law. It's such a vast, I don't know a lot of law. I know the areas that I work in really well, and then there's tons of stuff I don't know. So I would try to, in order to make decisions within your own lives, within the context that you're working, if you're an entrepreneur, for example, try to learn a little bit about whatever law impacts you so that when you are looking for legal counsel, you can make better decisions. I think the clients that have a little bit of background are the ones that I work best with, because we can get right to the point and start solving problems. And they're also can contribute more. Like, you'll be able to say, hey, it'd be great if we can work this way or we can work that way. Whereas if you have absolutely no context, I think it's just hard. And whatever you do, don't bury your head in the sand if you're afraid of legal costs or working with an attorney. There's some really great people out there that are used to working with entrepreneurs and are down to earth and all of that.
Thank you so much, Laura, for being here. I so appreciate you. And thank you for sharing.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, we're going to bring the next speaker up.